liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get right to it. So recently we just done a piece framing Donald Trump always crying wolf with Iran. 1 minute it's on, he's gonna bomb them into obliteration. He's gonna annihilate them. Then the next, oh, I called it off. This has been going on since February 20th. The last time it was done was August the 2nd or 3rd. Here we are, August the 4th, and Donald Trump again is claiming to be ready or is prepared to annihilate Iran. It's total destruction. Again, he uses these words loosely. At the same time, he's saying he's having negotiations with Iran. So again, the math isn't mathing. 1 minute, hey, they got to come to the negotiating table. They've been begging us, they're trying to negotiate from a position of weakness. And then the next, well, if they don't negotiate, this is their final chance or their last chance and final warning. Which is it, Trump? Which is it? All right. Are they negotiating or are they not? Now, for Iran and, their part in terms of this supposed negotiation, Iran is saying they know nothing of any negotiations with the United States or any delegation coming from the United States in terms of the Strait of Hormuz. They said, we know nothing of this. And they've made it official. They're on record saying this just as recent as a day or two ago. Baghaei, one of the spokespersons for the Iranian government, said they know nothing about this. That was just yesterday that he made the statement to the world. All right. Now, the real story is Iran spokesman did say that. Baghaei, he said, man, we know nothing about what Trump or Marco Rubio is talking about. And you may be able to throw Scott Bessett's comments in there as well. Or there'll be a deal by the end of today, August 4th. Iran is saying they know nothing about any of this. In fact, their negotiations have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the United States government, Donald Trump, or its military. All right. Now, that was just yesterday. And, again, they're stressing this. There are no negotiations with the U.S. at all. All right. But they have clarified that their only active talks are with Oman over Hormuz passage, establishing a corridor for entering and exiting the Strait of Hormuz and attaching to that a toll that they both will share equally, Oman and Iran. Now, Iran, even Iran state media, I think as far as also called Trump's, quote, deal is taking shape, claim a false one. All right. And one outlet also mocked him, Iranian outlet mocked him for backing away after boasting. So again, here we are, or here he is, Trump crying wolf, what he's going to do to someone, how he's going to obliterate him, dismantle him, just destroy them, and then turning around maybe hours later or a day later saying, we changed our mind. We're going to back off of that for now because they're begging us for negotiations. He's being mocked by Iranian media. But then Trump did call Tehran's leadership, and he said this in front of the press, unbelievably duplicitous. All right. And gave them a last chance warning. That was, I think, yesterday or so. So anyway, you got to look at this thing as it should be viewed. Trump is angling for something. Can't quite put our finger on it just yet here at TAPS, but we're working on it. But in any respect, Trump has the mindset that he can bluff, boast, cajole, coerce, whatever, anyone into doing what he says should be done. All right. Now, he even got his little sidekick, Marco Rubio, in front of cameras, making the same claims. And that's what we want to address today. We want to address these claims. All right. this Trump's last chance remarks versus Iran's no talks happening at all, the truth about the Hormuz Strait. All right. So that's what we want to do today. I have a couple of clips. I'm going to bring these clips in soon enough. But before we do, as always, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe. You are tapped into the art of political discourse. We appreciate your patronage. We appreciate your involvement. Okay. That being said, let's get to this, because I think this is significant. I think this is very significant. Marco Rubio claims progress. Marco Rubio, as well as Trump, Scott Bessent, and others, they're all claiming progress on reopening the Strait of Hormuz, when Iran says there is negotiations, but from a different position than what the United States is trying to claim or say is happening. And again, Marco Rubio, he stresses it as Iran, they need to negotiate because they only have one way of negotiation, and that is from a position of weakness. All right. This is Marco Rubio. And he said that is a result of the strikes the U.S. have been conducting on Iran. Just recently, a day or so ago, the United States struck a home in Qashm, Iran, that killed on Qashm Island, that killed a family. The 200-pound bomb, or was it a 2,000-pound bomb, landed on top of a home that killed the mother, father, a 2-year-old, and injured 3 other children who are they're in critical condition. All right. Now, I don't know where Marco Rubio is getting his information from, let alone Trump, and making these claims. But that's what he said. They're trying to negotiate with the U.S. from a position of weakness, and then Trump says, hey, I'm gonna give Tehran their last chance, and then he calls their leadership unbelievably duplicitous. All right. Now let's cut into these clips, because I think they're significant. Okay. I think they are significant. Okay, here we go. This is the first clip. This clip is courtesy of DWS News, okay? We're not going to play the whole clip, just, certain bits of it.
Hello, everybody. I thought I'd bring our great Secretary of State out, and he's doing a fantastic job. So we have Marco. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, I wanted to ask you, Iran executed 3 people this week.
Terrible.
You have vowed strong action in the past. What message would you send?
Well, we've been hitting them awfully hard. I mean, I don't know if you can possibly get hit harder, but these are thugs and animals and horrible people. But you can't hit anybody harder than we've hit them. But I'm not surprised. They executed 3 young people for protesting.
And do you plan to escort those ships through the Strait of Hormuz with or without allies?
We're doing very well there. We're doing very well overall. We don't use the Strait. We don't. The United States. We don't.
There's that claim again. United States has no need for the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, what goes through the Strait of Hormuz in terms of resources, fuel, oil, liquid gas, things of that nature, United States says none of our stuff goes through that strait. So it just, I think the question is, okay, then why are you there? Why are you there? Why aren't the countries who actually need the strait to receive their fuel, their oil, liquid gas, things of that nature, why aren't they there? Why are you there policing the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East? I think that's a valid question.
Need it. Europe needs it. Korea, Japan, China, a lot of other people. So they'll have to get involved a little bit on that one.
Do you still want South Korea supporting United States?
Now, what about it?
Do you still want South Korea supporting?
Well, I love South Korea. We have a great relationship with South Korea. We're helping South Korea a lot.
Mr. President, do you think Israel will be ready to end the war when you're ready?
I think so, yeah.
What makes you think so?
There's the $1 million question. See, all of this is riding on what Israel wants. This war exists because that's what Israel wanted, have been wanting it for for decades, for a very long time. They've been pushing for this. And to think that Trump would back out and just leave it as is something Israel doesn't, find particularly, satisfying. No, they went into this with the idea that United States, they would bring them into this conflict, this war, and with the United States' help, they would end the Iranian regime. Why? Why is that necessary? Why does Israel want Iran gone? And why is the United States helping them? It's been alleged that Israel wants to execute its greater Israel plan. But the only way that can happen, take place, and or occur is if Iran is no longer strong enough to stop them. In fact, Iran is the only country in that region that can. And so Israel said, wait a minute, Trump, Donald, you're not going to end this thing until we say or we deem the damage has been done and we can pick it up from there. Until then, no, it's war, and this is Trump's stance, though he tends to paint a picture as though this thing is under control. Everything is all right. And he does that for a reason as well. I'll get to that soon enough. But yeah, that's it. Israel.
The relationship's a very good one. I think so. We want more or less similar things. You know what we want? We want victory. Both of us, and that's what we've got.
How will the operation?
Well, I may have a plan or I may not, but how would I ever say that to a reporter? If I said that to a reporter, Marco would say, please, sir, let's bring you over to the helicopter immediately, right? No, I can't tell you that. It's certainly a place that's people are talking about, but I can't say. Yeah.
Are you ruling out
How will the
troops there,
Operation Epic Fury affect talks with Russia on Ukraine?
What about it?
Are the talks on back burner right now because of
No, we're talking about it. I think it'll get done.
When do you expect the next round of talks to take place?
They take place almost every day. We're making a lot of progress.
The war was militarily won in Iran. What did you mean by that? You said the war was militarily won in Iran. What did you mean by that?
Oh, I think we've won. We've knocked out their Navy, their Air Force. We've knocked out their anti-aircraft. We've knocked out everything. We're roaming free. From a military standpoint, all they're doing is clogging up the strait. But from a military standpoint, they're finished.
So how much longer do the American people expect it?
You said opening the Strait of Hormuz is a simple military maneuver.
Very simple.
Yeah, but what did you mean by that?
It's a simple military maneuver. It's relatively safe, but you need a lot of help in the sense of you need ships, you need volume. And NATO could help us, but they so far haven't had the courage to do so. And others could help us, but we don't use it. At a certain point, it'll open itself at a certain point. But we've defeated the enemy, and they are an enemy. They're a sick group of people. The leadership is gone. The Navy is gone. The Air Force is gone. The anti-aircraft equipment that they have, the radar they have is all gone. Everything's gone.
You guys remember he said this, all right? And he's said this before, time and again. It's all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. And yet Iran produces anti-aircraft, batteries, missile launchers, drones, missiles. and I have to say, they're not getting all this stuff from Russia, North Korea, or Japan. China. They have stockpiles of this stuff. Literally just tunnels and tunnels filled with this stuff that they have access to. So the narrative that, we demolished their stockpiles, they used them up, they don't have interest into their mountains to get this stuff because we closed them. It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda. All right, that's Trump talking about what they've accomplished militarily, and yet they still haven't entered into the Strait of Hormuz, and they have no viable way of keeping it open or closing it without, Iran's say in the matter. That's a fact. That's a fact. So let's get to this. I want to show you this clip from Iran spokesperson Baghaei, all right, and what he says about this whole thing. All right. Now this is telling. This is telling. Okay. There we go. Now, this is Iran spokesman Baghaei. I think I'm saying that right. All right. Now, what is it? Here's the thing. If we listen to only Trump and Marco Rubio, then that's what we'll go with, But the thing is, some of us have listened so long to Trump and Marco Rubio, we're closed off audibly to anything anyone else is saying about the matter. We find it hard to believe. There's a lot of skepticism there by, reporters and news outlets when Iran speaks. No one really takes what they're saying serious because they've been told time and again by Trump that, they're nothing. They're done. We won. And yet they're still begging for negotiations. How is that possible? But here's Barachi, I think it is. Baghaei.
ما الان مذاکره‌ای با آمریکا نداریم.
Okay.
مذاکرات با عمان هست. ما الان مذاکره‌ای با آمریکا نداریم. مذاکرات با عمان.
Okay, so I've got a problem here. There you go.
ما الان مذاکره‌ای با آمریکا نداریم. مذاکرات با عمان هست متمرکز بر تفاهم بر سر مسیری که تردد ایمن کشتیرانی از تنگه هرمز رو تأمین بکنه. تلاش ما این هست که اولین فرصت با مشورت عمان، با همکاری عمان مسیری رو تعیین بکنیم، مسیری که قاعدتاً موقت خواهد بود. بر اساس اون بتوانیم ایمنی کشتیرانی در تنگه هرمز رو فراهم بکنیم. تفاهم بر سر مسیر تردد ایمن کشتیرانی از تنگه هرمز شرط لازم برای بازگشایی تنگه هرمز هست، ولی شرط کافی نیست. تنگه هرمز به خاطر اختلاف نظر بین ایران و عمان مسدود نشده. تنگه هرمز به دلیل تجاوز نظامی آمریکا و رژیم صهیونیستی از 9 اسفند ماه سال گذشته دچار مشکل شد و مادامی که شرارت آمریکا ادامه پیدا بکنه، مادامی که محاصره دریایی ایران ادامه داشته باشه، تجاوز نظامی آمریکا علیه ایران و منافعش تداوم داشته باشه، مادامی که همه مواردی که آمریکا در این مدت نقض کرده نقضهاش ادامه داشته باشه، قاعدتاً در وضعیت تنگه هرمز اتفاق خاصی، تغییر خاصی نخواهد افتاد. عرض کردم خدمتتون که ما نه قرار هست ظرف این روزها میزبان هیئتی باشیم از بیرون و نه قرار هست که خودمون مهمان جایی باشیم. مذاکرات حول این محور بوده که مسیر جنوبی که مسیری است که از آبهای عمان میگذره و مسیر شمالی که از آبهای سرزمینی ایران تبدیل بشه به یک مسیر بینابین تأمین کننده ملاحظات و منافع هر دو دولت ساحلی باشه. بنابراین ما الان داریم از یک کریدور صحبت میکنیم که مسیر رفت و برگشت خواهد داشت، نه از 2 یا 3 مسیر مجزا. ما الان مذاکره‌ای با آمریکا نداریم. مذاکرات با عمان هست.
There it is. And this is from the spokesperson for Iran, Baghaei, and he's saying straight out, hey, the United States and Iran are not negotiating whatsoever. And that is in regards to the Strait of Hormuz and anything else. They aren't talking. The only negotiations that are occurring are between Iran and Oman. All right. That's what he said. Our negotiations are with Oman. All right. Iranian state media Fars directly denied Israeli media reports of a U.S. Qatari brokered Hormuz deal, calling them false also. All right. So then we want to ask, or it should be asked, who's actually negotiating? You know, for real. Who's negotiating? It's not the United States, at least not with Iran. It's Iran, and as we know, with Oman, opening the southern and northern routes in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. That's who's negotiating. So what President Trump is talking about, what Marco Rubio is talking about, you know, we don't know where that come from. We don't know. Well, we have an understanding why it's being said. But in terms of supporting their claim, there's no support there. The people they're supposed to be negotiating with are saying, we haven't talked to these people. We aren't going to talk to these people about our strait. So, you know, it's, you know, you have to figure out, or you have to be able to weave through, shift through this BS we're hearing coming out of the White House, out of Donald Trump's mouth and his puppets. All right. Again, Arachi's contact has reportedly been with Oman and Qatar as intermediaries, plus outreach to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. No direct U.S.-Iran talks. And that's from Arachi, all right? That's from him. Qatar's prime minister is pushing all sides to honor the existing MOU. That's the Memorandum of Understanding. Now, I think, you know, this should be posed in terms of a question to you all who are interested in this, who find this of interest, who are trying to figure out just as much as anyone else what is really going on. Who benefits from this? Who benefits from Trump publicly claiming a deal exists when Iran says it doesn't? All right? Who? Israel? Saudi Arabia? Kuwait, Jordan, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Iran? No. Who benefits? We tend to think that it's Trump and others who are aligned with Trump. They're the ones who benefit. They use what Trump says to manipulate the market. A lot of insider trading is being alleged going on, and Trump is knee deep in it, allegedly. That's who benefits. Those who are sitting back, understanding what's going to happen before it happens, and they're betting on the market in that respect. The American taxpayer does not benefit. The Iranian people don't benefit. Trump and his cronies, that's who benefits. All those who invest in the stock market, I mean, using large sums of money, are the ones reaping the profits from Trump saying, oh, we're in talks to calm the market. Those who know what's really going on, they understand they're going along with the game. Those are the beneficiaries of Trump's propaganda and false narratives. Not the American people, not the taxpayer in America. They receive nothing from any of this but higher prices, more taxes. So yeah, who benefits? That's the question I want to pose to you guys. If you have an answer, an idea, we'd appreciate it. You put those thoughts, those answers, those ideas in the comments, and we'll address them. We'll address them. Again, those who benefit are those who are invested in the oil and stock market. That's simple, people. It's that simple. It's the oil price, the stock market angle that's winning here. That's the angle, to make sure those who invest heavily in that part of the stock market, oil, are the winners. Are the winners. No one else is. And, you know, to tell the truth, every time Trump speaks about something, oh, the negotiations are in fact, they're coming to the table. They begged us. So, yeah, we're going to get this deal. Don't worry about it. I got this under control. When he says that, markets rally on the de-escalation hope that Trump is putting out there, this false narrative, this propaganda. That's who benefits. That's who benefits. There's a financial incentive, you know. There's a financial incentive for the deal, especially if they're being told the deal will be closed. The negotiations will work out. Oil will flow through the Strait of Hormuz. It's not hard, you guys. That narrative, regardless of any truth to it, benefits certain people. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Now, let's keep in mind that, say, for instance, those representatives for the Iranian regime say, okay, we'll work out something with the U.S. That doesn't finalize it. That's just the Iranian regime. That's not the IRGC in collaboration or in step with the Iranian regime to negotiate with the United States over the Strait of Hormuz. No, they're a totally different function and faction, totally different, totally separate. Really, it's their last word. They have the last word on anything regarding the Strait of Hormuz, not the politicians, you know? And, you know, again, the IRGC's Navy is the body that will actually control the Strait's access, entrance and exit. That's a fact. That's a fact. And again, the IRGC, they're hardliners. They're hardliners, way more hardlining or hardlinered than Tehran's diplomats. Believe that. Believe that. So when Trump gets to talking this talk about negotiations and the diplomats in Iran are begging for talks and negotiations, don't believe that. When Trump says the IRGC are in negotiations with us over the Strait, then you might want to put a little bit of faith in that, you know, a little trust in that. Because those are the guys that really run the show. You know, Trump pressing Iranian diplomats means absolutely nothing to the IRGC. Absolutely nothing. And until Trump says, I'm in contact with the IRGC, then you might get at a grain of salt. Take that with a grain of salt. Until then, don't believe nothing Trump is saying, because in most cases, those claims are not true. They're not true. And like I said, even if the diplomats feel a deal can happen, or it's in, in the works, enforcement on the water is a whole totally different, separate operation in question that's controlled by the IRGC. That's it. That is it. Yeah, so that's what's going on. And I tell you again, people, until we start really digging into what's propelling this thing, what's fueling it, oil, of course, until we start looking at the bigger picture, we'll only continue to see little bits of it. It's like a million-piece puzzle, and you're only gonna get, come on. Come on. By the time you put those pieces together, the truth will already be out, And the fact of that matter is, this is a money grab type thing going on right here. They're in it for the money. They're not in it because, Iran just executed 3 protesters, more than likely spies, you know, sent by Mossad, CIA, whoever. You know, that's the least of it. That's the least of it, you know. And it should confuse anyone when you hear the United States or the president of the United States speak like that about so-called injustices against the people, when that occurs here in the United States, when you have in the Israeli regime a death penalty for Palestinians, Arabs, allegedly. All right. You know, there's a lot to be considered when you're talking, or when this discussion in regards to the Strait of Hormuz is being discussed. There's a lot to be considered just to get to just the, you know, the upper layer of the facts. Everything underneath is so much bigger to deal with, but because we don't even have the facts on top of the facts that are underneath it, you know, we're at the whim of whatever Trump, Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent says. Whatever they say, that's what, you know, we're at their mercy. You know, the U.S. claims progress every day. Every day, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, they claim victory every day. Victory, progress, whatever. Every day you hear this. We won the war. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. We could do whatever we want. And yet you've done nothing. You won't even go in the Strait. You won't even police the Strait, but you call yourself policing the Strait of Hormuz. You know, and in spite of this progress being made, or these victories the United States are claiming, Iran denies it, flat out denies it. What victory? What progress? And the Strait itself isn't even reopened. What progress, what victory are we discussing, or is being discussed here? You know? Do you think this is real diplomacy we see playing out? I don't think so. Or is this theater, you know, for domestic and, you know, market consumption? That's what I think is occurring. That's what we here at TAP think is happening. There's no diplomacy happening. This is all theater that serves consumption in some form or another. It's market manipulation. There's a whole lot of things. But for sure, it's not a victory. It's war. If you want to call it that, it's far from over. Most of us know this. Most of us know this. So again, tell us what you think. Is this real? Or is this just, you know, is this real diplomacy? Can we even call this diplomacy? The things we hear coming out of the president's mouth, Secretary of State coming out of his mouth, the Secretary of War, things that comes out of his mouth. That's not diplomacy. That's all theater. There's a reason for it. Tell us what you think in the comments, please. Give us your thoughts. Let us know exactly where you stand on these issues. And we promise we will respond to each and every comment. But until next time, you take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.